I'm about to say one of the most blasphemous things I could ever say if I want to consider myself a gamer. I have never played a Doom game, not a single one. The first game I can remember playing that was anywhere near was Duke Nukem 3D when I was probably too young to be playing it. Somehow, even with going back to that game or playing Duke Nukem Forever when it originally released, I never got around to playing Doom even though I own a couple of them physically and Doom 3 sits on my desk staring at me in its steel case. I think it's finally time that I go back and play these games, but the first one is so short that we are doing multiple. I'm scared. Now, Doom isn't like other games. It doesn't really have a story. There is lore and everything you can follow, but it's always been more centered around level design, gunplay, the enemies you're fighting, and the extras you get along the way. So that's exactly where we will start. The original Doom's the level design. Going through the first episode, it's as simple as it gets. The first level does everything a first level needs to do. It introduces you to the world, it shows you the enemies you'll see for the entirety of the game, it's straightforward, but it also promotes exploration. There is the normal way you can find the exit. We can just run through and kill a couple of enemies, but we can also find a secret tunnel that leads into the facility, but also just holds tons of items that are good for early game. Also in this level we are introduced to the first two enemies we will see until the end. There's the shotgun guy, I wish I was joking, but I think that's legitimately its name, and the imp. Shotgun guys are just the basic grunt enemies, with imps being a step up with a little bit more health. We also meet a lot of pickups we will see. A smaller health booster that heals 1 HP and can take you over 100. A bigger health kit that heals you 10 HP and can't take you over 100. And the largest health kit that heals 25 HP and also can't take you over 100. Then we have the armor pickups. A smaller boost that adds 1 point to your armor and can take you over 100. And a green armor pickup which takes you to 100 points no matter what. Then there are different ammo pickups, but before we talk about that, we need to talk about the weapon introduced in this level, the pistol. The pistol is just a pistol. It does what you expect. The damage isn't the best, but it's always there, and being the most commonly dropped ammo, it's useful. So overall, I think this first level is the best introduction I could have asked for. On to the next level, Nuclear Plant. It already bumps it up and has more places to explore, more hidden secrets, more corridors to go down, and sometimes even more corridors that just lead to the same place and may cause a little confusion. We are also introduced to the elevators, which leads us to small hidden rooms and items just like the shotgun. The gun that I will probably be using for the rest of the game. It hits hard and ammo is usually abundant. The pickups come in 4 or 20, and now with the black shirted shotgun guys, instead of pistol ammo, they drop their weapon. With this newfound power, the growth throws a lot more enemies at you, and the concept of keys. There are 3 colored keys that you are able to collect, but I'm not sure if they're all in this level. I did end up finding the red key before leaving, but there are 2 others, yellow and blue. These open specific doors, and of course you have to find them before going to certain places. Sometimes it's just items, and sometimes it's necessary to unlock the exit, which this red key was. Moving even deeper into the moon base, we reach Toxin Refinery, where it is just expanded upon even more. More secrets forcing you to not trust any regular wall you see. The level lets you see something and leaves you wondering, how do I get there? Now, item pickups change the environment around you, with new doors opening, more enemies out of nowhere, and even a change in lighting. There's even major backtracking throughout this level, so it really wants you to explore more before committing, otherwise you would be lost for hours thinking I've been here, when really you didn't look on the other side for the exit. Through this door I'm talking about, we also meet stairs that move. I don't know why I'm bringing this up as a point, but it's there and I think it's the first time we see it. Now, the 4th level is a major jump ahead from what we've experienced so far. Command Control takes everything a huge leap forwards. The branching pathways leave more level to explore. The different ways to get from A to B also add to this experience. There's even a maze and rooms that you can just avoid if you wanted to. We even get introduced to 2 new weapons, the chain gun and the rocket launcher. The first I want to talk about is the chain gun. I'm not sure on its damage, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to the pistol, if not slightly better, but its fire rate just makes it amazing for mowing down everyone in your path, and it comes in handy. It also uses the most common ammo type drop, so I don't really see much of a downside. Now, the rocket launcher, I don't use much, but it hits incredibly hard, but comes with the downside of limited ammo. We are also given a chance to take our health to beyond 100% with the supercharge. It gives you 100 HP no matter what you're on when you pick it up. Then there is also the blue armor piece, which takes you straight up to 200 shield. I'm not sure if the other armor pickups can make you go above 200, but 200 is more than enough when you get used to the game. The only other pickup is the radiation suit, which lets you walk through poison without taking damage. This all comes with the additions of a new enemy, the demon, or more commonly known as Pinky, a hunchback, seemingly cannibalistic demon that will turn on anything that hits it, whether imp or human. They are hidden all over the maze I talked about earlier, and so far they're the hardest to kill and can take the most damage out of any enemy up until this point. This doesn't last long as we head into the 5th level, Phobos Lab. But we will talk about the enemies in a second. Here, really we see how important exploration is, because you can kill enemies early so it's easier later on, and you need to go to a specific part of the map to open up this early kill potential. You can of course just keep moving and not even worry about it, but it's there and I think it's a great addition, leaving us with even more possibilities and possibly a differing experience from others. This level isn't very big, but they did manage to pack in a ton of enemies, with a new one joining the team, the Spectre Demon. It's really just pinky but slightly invisible. I know I made it seem like there was a big bad boss joining us this level, but really the Spectre Demon can really cause an issue if you don't see the black particles, especially when you get to the maze where there are flashing lights. You can barely see regular enemies and the explosive barrels fully surrounding you, and a couple black specks are hard to catch when the lights go out. Only 3 minutes to go and we're moving on to central processing, where everything great about the other maps is here in full force, even though at times I do think it's a little bit too confusing, but I also have a small smooth brain. There isn't much really to talk about in this level, besides I think this is the real first instance of the computer area map, which honestly I have no idea what it really does. Maybe we should look it up so I can have more information. It causes all unexplored lines to be shown in gray on the map. Wait, this game has a map? I really should look more into the game before I just jump in, but where's the fun in that? This is Doom. It's just meant to be endless murder. And that's how the penultimate level is. Computer Station is just like every other level. Pure chaos and murder. More enemies, more ammo, more places to explore. Enemies can spawn behind you and wait for a time when you have to backtrack. You really do have to learn all the tricks and strategies you learned in the first 6 levels to make it through this one. Seeing pathways from different angles, seeing glimpses of places you may want to visit, seeing important items from across the map and asking yourself, how do I get there? This level is the first one where I probably took longer than I should have because I really wasn't diligent enough and I kept getting lost. I didn't know how to get to where the blue key was being held. It really shows how important it is to the game to explore as you find new places, and even look where you don't expect anything to be. And something I didn't expect to find going into the final level, 2 massive Barons of Hell. In Phobos Anomaly, they come out of nowhere. From the setup it seems like an ordinary level until you reach them, where you're in a giant star-shaped room with loot in every corner. One of which being the invisibility pickup. It makes you invisible, but I'm not really sure how it works. I used it later and simply tried to run past the enemies, but they would always see me anyways. Maybe it's more for range? I'm not quite sure, but it is a cool addition. And you turn into black specks that you see whenever a Spectre Demon is trying to kill you. Once you're able to kill these 2 Barons, the entire map opens up and you reach the end. You are dropped into what seems to be hell. I think this is a really good end to the episode and flows perfectly into the next, which is all centered around hell. We get a message that seemingly breaks the 4th wall, and I really like that too. It's a very condescending way of the developer telling you it isn't over yet, which I think really fits the brutal, all-out bloodbath that Doom is. So we finished the first episode. The only logical step is to play the second. It got 10 times more complex. Well, maybe not, but just in the first map, Deimos Anomaly, we are introduced to teleporters and buttons that change where the teleporter will put you when you come back. This level is a lot like the first, very straightforward and just showing you the new mechanics, keeping you informed without throwing you in completely blind. It's also relatively short with not too much added besides the Cacodemon, a flying ball of flesh with horns that does tons of damage from range but can bite you and kill you just the same. Probably the most health for a common enemy that we will see over and over, especially when we get to Inferno. Again, it just does what an intro level should do and just teaches you what to expect throughout the rest of the episode. But I don't think it prepared me well enough for what I experienced next. In the next level containment area, we have a giant maze which connects to another area that is even larger with multiple different pathways. There are walls you have to time to get past without taking damage, and even an entire maze in this warehouse that leads to a door that isn't needed to complete the level. Once you find your way to the right side for the exit, it's over. You need to find the blue key and the red keys and just leave. It just further proves my point that you need to explore and enjoy your experience with Doom. In one of the paths, I think this is the first time we are introduced to the plasma gun, which I didn't get because I didn't know it was going to be dropping from the ceiling. The plasma gun is a lot like the chain gun, rapid fire, but with the twist of doing even more damage. I'm not sure about the stats, and honestly I'm going off of feel, but it feels so much stronger than the chain gun, but also has very little ammo spawns. It can easily get you out of sticky situations. Then we have the new Berserk pickup, which does just that, puts you into Berserk mode. You regain all health up to 100, your screen goes red, and you deal massive amounts of damage with your fists. I think it's a cool addition, but granted not something I use very often besides for the health benefits. Going into the 3rd level Refinery, there is seemingly less to explore, but it could just as easily been hiding in plain sight and I just missed it. I had played this level before and the first time missed the rockets and the green armor piece even though they were right there. There were also places I saw and just didn't know how to get there. I wish I had experienced more because I would have seen more. This level especially makes me want to go back and play the game again. I think I'll be be getting the rest of the achievements on my second channel, but the environment in this level feels very different, and it's a really nice change of pace. We have more hellish textures, the demons we've killed throughout the game are stuck in cages, moving floors, vines, and yet another maze where we're surrounded by enemies that are hard to see because of the flashing lights. Nothing new is added here, I think, but it is where I picked up the plasma gun for the first time since I missed it before. Now, the fourth level caused me so many issues, and was honestly where I started using save states to make my enjoyment of the game just a little bit better. The first time I reached this level, I got to the point of turning down the difficulty, I'll talk about that later, and it just shows how I wasn't able to progress the way the game wanted me to. But going back this time and knowing what I know really shows that it's all about knowing the map, knowing the enemies, and just figuring it out instead of giving up. I know it's a little weird to get this feeling from a 30-year-old game, but really I restarted the playthrough multiple times because I was upset. But this level in particular showed me to just work at it and use what I can until I make it. Here, the exit is really weird and hard to find because not only do you have to head all the way up these very slow stairs, you have to find a button, which since it is so old, doesn't stick out of the wall. So if you're not paying enough attention, you'll miss it like I did. Also, the first time I saw these faces, I was traumatized. I don't know why. They're not really that scary or anything, they just made me feel uneasy the first couple times I ran into them. The fifth level is where I really started looking for and finding secrets though. There are two identical ones in this first room, and it really made me realize how much I missed because I didn't look well enough. And also that I should just take advantage when I see extra enemies and just kill them, because there was a chance for me to kill a dozen pinkies and I just didn't take it. There are so many different paths and doors and slightly different textures that lead to places that really have no purpose besides items and ammo. Here also really shows off the power of the plasma gun. I get caught with a cacodemon, a baron, and a new enemy that I don't think we've talked about yet, the Lost Soul. Or I think they're called other things in different versions. A flying fiery skull that just charges you, but luckily if you hit them, they will be knocked back. This is also the first level where I find the chainsaw, which is just a high-powered melee weapon. I did eventually stop exploring and reach the exit, but one thing this level starts to do is really make it feel more hellish. More flesh textures, more enemies, and a slow transition into the hellish nightmare I was expecting. The next level, Halls of the Damned, was honestly one that I thought of skipping completely. I didn't enjoy the level at all. It was actually quite annoying to exit. The level design is just tons of corridors and mazes where you have to find 3 keys for the exit, and all of the keys just open doors that are directly in line with each other. Not only was there small corridors, but also just an absolute fuck ton of enemies. There was actually one point I used a quick save in the worst place possible and just died over and over again. I mean, it was my fault, but the amount of pinkies in that small area was absurd. I kind of just want this level to be over, so yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. On the second to last level, Spawning Vats, we are back to the same amazing level design I loved up until this point, just on a massive scale. It's back to hidden corridors, a reasonable amount of enemies, and seeing things like the yellow key and trying to find our way to get there. I don't remember much being new, and looking through the footage I see nothing new, so yeah. Now it is boss fight time. In the final level, we spawn in a room that separates into 4 different rooms. The only thing here is that there is a cyber demon, the largest, healthiest, most damaging enemy we've run into and we'll see until the end of the game. I somehow beat it pretty quickly, but now if I want the achievement, I need to kill it with a pistol, which is very scary. Now, onto the final episode. Well, in the base game, Inferno. The first level is just kind of normal, so again, just like every other one, just getting you ready for what's to come, so we will just move on to the second level. Slough of Despair already shows how this episode is going to be a lot more open spaces instead of tight corridors and mazes. Granted, this is a maze, but it's an open maze. Even though this level is a lot more open, there are hidden corners that hold items, and even the exit, which now is just a teleport. I also don't know much new as of now, so next level again. This level really does take us back to the pretty basic level design that we've seen over and over up until this point. Tight corridors and lots of enemies. The puzzles and mazes are back too. Even points where you have to walk around on lava, or blood, or bloody lava, and we find a new item, the invulnerability pickup. The screen goes completely white and it's honestly so much harder to see, but you can't take damage, so I guess it's a little bit of a give and take. Also, your eyes turn godlike. Then we have the BFG, the big fucking gun. A weapon that kills almost instantly and uses cells to fire. There is an achievement for killing only one enemy with it, and onto House of Pain, we have a good mix of both open areas, tight corridors, and even puzzles, and the puzzles I had the most fun with so far. You have to press these buttons and figure out which door they open, leading to enemies, ammos, keys, and the passage to continue. Honestly, this level was also one of the hardest I'd come so far. Barons, cacodemons, pinkies, lost souls, anything you can imagine hiding around any corner, and even more right before the exit. I liked it, but oh god did it make me angry near the end. Now, the next level is probably one of the most difficult mazes I've come across so far in the game. Teleports, enemies, hidden corridors, and locked doors. You have to come from each corner to open up the 4 walls in the middle. You have to navigate through parts of the maze that damage you before you're able to find another area, and you even have to walk through a spot in a specific direction to make it into a very important room. Again, nothing new added here, just a lot of carnage and a lot of confusion. Speaking of confused, we have Mount Erebus, a large open area with smaller buildings and bloody lava all over the place. It's one of the first times I really had to look up a guide, beside maybe for a key. I was so lost that I even found the secret level before I found the main exit. The exit itself was hidden, and now the key wasn't obvious either. I know it's not the worst thing to have to deal with, but it was kind of annoying and I needed help. I did think it was really cool, but it was such a large jump from the other levels I've experienced so far. On to the final regular level of Doom. Limbo leads you down multiple paths, and you have to go through all doors and eventually raise the platform to get the exit. This level just kind of mixes everything you've seen. Bloody lava mazes, tight corridors, hordes of enemies, hidden passageways, puzzles, map knowledge, and massive amounts of blood and gore. I think if anyone would describe Doom, this is the level they should use, because it is the basis of the whole game, and uses every trick it had up its sleeve so far. Now, the last level really wasn't much, but it was the final boss fight of the main game against the Spider Demon. I actually had so much trouble killing it that I basically forced the Baron and Cacodemons to help me by attacking it and keeping it distracted so I could get more ammo and shoot it without it shooting me. I think the large open area and the difficulty of the boss was the perfect way to end the game, with the developers actually congratulating us instead of putting us down. With that being the end of the main game, the next thing is to cover the 4th episode, added when Ultimate Doom was released. I honestly rage quit this one, and yeah, I shouldn't have, but the first level started off rough already. Started with a bunch of teleporting enemies and a Baron of Hell. The level itself is relatively small and short, but they just threw a ton of enemies at you and just, yeah. The second level does the same thing, but there are like 6 Barons and a Cyber Demon. The third level was no better. More Barons, and I just rage quit right there. On the third level. I'm bad, and I know it. The first thing that I want to talk about is the issue I have with the difficulty. It's not an issue of it being too difficult, but being too easy. I had originally had lots of troubles with the difficulty, and I was only on Hurt Me Plenty, and I was becoming sort of angry. So I thought I would turn it down and try to enjoy my first Doom experience. So I did this, and quickly realized that the amount of enemies was decreased. And not just by a couple, not by a reasonable amount, but by a huge amount. It went from a place where there would be 15 to 2 or 3, and sometimes just none at all. Maybe I would understand if I dropped down to the lowest possible, but I only went down 1 and it became far too easy and not even fun. I know the game is almost 30 years old, but I still think it could have been a bit of a slower decline, especially since it has been 30 years and had plenty of time to change and fix certain things that may cause issue. I did just want to say this before I got into what I think the game did well. I say it a lot, but the level design is absolutely amazing. We have to explore, which isn't as important in today's games. It's so easy to just go from quest marker to quest marker, and with all the Easter eggs, weapons, and items hidden, it really promotes exploration and just gives me a sense of accomplishment when I play and find something new. The movement is also very fluid for a game made in 1993. It's not the best and sometimes can feel like you're on ice and need to be extra careful, but still feels really fluid. It matches well with the weapons, which also feel how they should and are really fun to use. They hit hard and have what I think is a good balance of ammo and damage. Cell weapons have high damage, but they have low ammo with infrequent drops, and with the regular weapons we get lots of ammo when they don't have the highest damage output. Overall, I love what I played and want to get better. I honestly did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought it would feel like Wolfenstein and Quake, which are games I've played over the years, all made by the same developer in the same era of first-person shooters, and it just wasn't. It stood alone and made me feel different, and just in general felt completely different in environment. I'm honestly really excited to play the rest of the games, so I'm not going to keep this going on too long because it's time for Doom 2. Doom 2 takes no time at all to throw you into the deep end. We are thrown into 5 enemies, which was the total amount from the entire first level of Doom. I think it already shows how much harder this game is going to be than the first, and we will definitely see it later. Going into the second level, we don't meet any new enemies, but we do meet a new weapon, the Super Shotgun.
It's right here and I didn't pick it up.
It uses 2 ammo per shot and can take out so many more enemies per shot. This is also the first level I've seen that needed sprint to be completed, but I didn't even know there was a sprint button. Like I said earlier, I should probably look more into the game before I just start playing. In terms of the level design, it is very dark and tight corridors, completely packed with enemies. The developers wasted 0 time pushing you into this. I can't lie. Map 3 was my favorite level that I played in the game. A large open area, but also smaller corridors, teleports, and even a new enemy that fit in no problem with who we have met in the first game. The Chain Gunner, who is still a human enemy with relatively low health, but they pack a punch and wield you know, the chain gun. The level even leads to a place where there are tons of enemies, but there isn't an overwhelming amount, as we will see later. Quickly moving on to map 4, there isn't much new, but there is an insight into how stupid I am, or maybe how weird and confusing the puzzle and map design is in this game. I got stuck in the one room, not knowing you have to stand on a specific box for the room to change. How am I supposed to know? There was this puzzle I kind of liked at the end, but I did end up taking way too long. Now to the waste tunnels. There isn't much to this map, it's pretty basic Doom level design. We have a maze, but I found the exit almost immediately. I do wish I went back and explored, but I think my patience was a little thin on the day I recorded this, so I just ended the level, but not before picking up a key and immediately being greeted by 2 cacodemons coming out of the walls. The 5th map is something different. We fight through a room of shotgun guys and imps, which is pretty standard. We go down this elevator and meet 4 barons. Of course, you know, because I'm so good, they just died. But that aside, there's a new power-up I've never seen before. This one works just like the supercharged, but instantly shoots you up to 200% health and 200% shield. Now, I would think this would be kind of hidden behind a secret wall or deeper into the level. It's in the room you spawn in, but that's kind of the charm of Doom, that anything can be hidden behind any wall. I did also find this elevator part to be a fun way to make you move faster and pay attention to your surroundings, which I wasn't, and stumbled onto a new enemy, the Revenant, a giant skeleton that shoots rockets that do an immense amount of damage. Now, unlike the rest of the game where you meet a new enemy and it's only one, they immediately throw 2 at you, which is just wow. But I think this level also shows where I think this game goes wrong, by just throwing a ton of enemies at you. Now, I would have been a lot happier with a bigger challenge like a Cyber Demon, or a couple Barons, or a Revenant, or any combo of the 3, but at the very end of the level, we just get bombarded by tons. Now. We meet the thickest boys, the Mancubus. Again, we don't only meet 1, we meet 4. All at the same time. In this situation, they're still pretty easily to kill. You just hide behind these pillars and wait for them to lose sight and stop firing, but it was a little jarring at first. Then we meet the Spider Demon's little brother, the Arachnotron. This was a pretty quick level with really not that many enemies. I counted maybe 10, 15. The next map really makes me shut my mouth though. There really isn't too many enemies here. We start with 10 to 12 demons hiding in this corner, not too bad, they can't reach us. We open the next room, it's a specter or 2, and then nothing. We just teleport away. Into a room with 20 to 30 imps, again, not too bad, they can teleport behind you, but they don't do much. Then the next room. 10 barons and a cyber demon, all packed into a tiny ass room. It does have a supercharge and a couple invulnerability pickups, but it's still absurd how many enemies are in here. I've gone back and replayed this level, and I think a room I skipped had 10 cacodemons in it, with another having 10 to 20 imps inside. The exit was actually really simple and just made you run across these paths as quick as possible, but the enemies were absolutely fucked. Now, map 9 was definitely something different. Looking back now, I'm really dumb and I didn't notice the button before. I even found a secret area before I found the very obvious button that I passed tons of times. This is also the first time I ran into the Pain Elemental, who basically just shoots out lost souls to do the dirty work for them. I know they can spawn in the last level too, but that's not where I saw them. Moving on to the rest of the level, we have a similar setup to the last level, but this time with 3 rooms to explore instead of 5 or 6. We have our first room where it's just some poison, some pickups, and a Pain Elemental. Then we have our second, where after you step on each platform, the next one drops and you have to jump on it right away or it will come back up and you have to backtrack. Then we have the third room, where we have to press each button to drop another platform to repeat. I actually really like this 3-room setup. There's not much I can really say about map 10, except I felt stupid again. I didn't think this corridor led anywhere, but it did. And even after I realized, I still missed the yellow key. I did eventually find where I needed to go and met a cyber demon blocking my exit, but he died eventually when I found out there was invulnerability and tons of cells right behind where he was. Easy peasy. We get into map 11 and it's nothing special so far, until we run into the seemingly innocent room and we are attacked by an Arc Vial, a lanky figure who fires what seems to be fireballs and absolutely demolishes all health. And honestly, with what we have ran into this game so far, the Barons are nothing when they were once a major boss in the series. The last 2 levels really pushed me over the edge and I just didn't want to continue. I completed level 12 but not without wanting to quit. I beat it and tried to push through to the next level, but I got to the point where I couldn't anymore. Now, I'll be honest, this is the furthest I could convince myself to play into Doom 2. Honestly, the last level I played, which is map 12, really ruined my experience. I know it's harsh to say that one level ruined my experience, but it wasn't just the one, but it was the one that pushed me over the edge. Starting off, there are 31 levels in the first episode, and 21 in the second. It's not a short game by any means, but just in map 12 alone, I was stuck for so long because I believed the banners on the walls to mean which key you are supposed to get to open that door. It was the same logic for the blue and yellow banners, so I went to the rest of the level thinking that, but that didn't apply to the red door. There are very obvious red banners on that door, which held the yellow key inside. Now, while this game wasn't any more difficult than the first, the design choices made it something hard for me to play through. I just wasn't having fun anymore, and this channel is all about me having fun. At the same time, I wouldn't say this is a bad game either. It feels a lot like an expansion of the first, and I think that's why I even tried to continue and move past these levels, because I loved the first so much. It really dawned on me that I just wasn't having fun while laying in bed, dreading getting up and playing. I don't even know that it was anything in particular besides confusing level design and overstuffed spaces that made me feel this way. I will go back one day and play the game, but for now, I really just want to move on to Doom 64. Now, this is the change I needed to revitalize my enjoyment of Doom. Doom 64 feels like a proper sequel to what I've experienced so far, but I will talk about that soon because it's time to talk about the levels. Going into the first level, I don't think the level design is all too special or differing from the first, but the new graphics and the feel of the weapons makes it feel new. In here, we already run into the shotgun and chainsaw with pinkies, imps, and shotgun guys right away. Or, are they zombie men? I don't know really, I don't know the difference. Either way, it's the grunt enemies. It's a short level, but it did bring me back to enjoying the game again. Going on to the second map, we are back to the exploration and feeling of Doom I loved so much from the first. You see something from across the map, you have basic but interesting puzzles, there are more set pieces than the first. This level as of right now are pretty straightforward and somewhat easy to understand, but if you don't look around, you're not going to find what you need. Map 3, we meet the Nightmare Imps for the first time, which are imps but more like specters, slightly invisible and do more damage. We also meet the Lost Souls yet again, but this time with a redesign, and to me they feel even faster than they were originally, but enemies aside, now we have items that spawn in places you've already been or already picked up an item from, which I think is cool, but I can see how it can be annoying having to backtrack so much in the future. Now, the fourth map I like in concept. Tight corridors, changing lighting, passageways opening that weren't able to be seen before, and a difficult challenge in the end, which is a ton of lost souls and 2 barons blocking the exit. I say in concept because one thing really ruins it for me. The flashing lights. I don't have epilepsy, I don't really have a problem with flashing lights or images, but I was playing in the dark. It was probably 4 to 5 AM, I had just woken up, so the bright white flashes gave me a headache. I think the slowly dimming lights from the first was good in the fact that it didn't cause bright flashes, but it gave a similar effect. On to map 5. A map that I felt like I really needed to think in. There is a maze with many opening and closing doors, leading to a button you press to open up a room with tons of things that can squash you. Then we have teleports, keys locked behind stuff, and enemies hidden around tight corners. This is also the level we are reintroduced to the super shotgun, which may or may not have been what I used for the rest of the playthrough. On map 6, we have the first instance I saw of buttons that needed specific keys. I could be wrong, but it's the first time that I can remember. I think it was an interesting concept, but this level also started to show the amount of enemies they will throw at you later. Map 7 continued with the interesting level design, with more confusing challenges, puzzles, and buttons that you don't know what it's doing and seemingly have to guess if you haven't known before. Onto map 8, we even see more backtracking and not knowing what is going on. I know I'm a little dumb when it comes to certain things, but sometimes it is genuinely weird level design that kind of throws me off, just like with the yellow key being obtainable only by pressing the button outside of the room when there is 2 inside the room itself. One issue I think that is mainly seen in this level is the enemies spawning in front of your eyes, sort of phasing in, while in the other games by id, they were clever with their spawns. Now, map 9, there isn't much to talk about because it's just an all-out brawl. No puzzles, just kill things and leave. Which is a far departure from the next, which showcases many puzzles, mazes, tight corridors, and enemies trying to stop you from proceeding. This is also the level that introduces the BFG. The 11th level is more of an exploration level than anything, and shows the level design to use the same rooms and small spaces available in somewhat of an interesting way. There's even a spot where 2 rooms connect, and if you're lucky, you can get early shots to kill these barons hiding on the other side. You can also just cheese them like I did. Now, 12 took me a while, not because it was necessarily difficult, but I missed this button behind the armor. I should have been paying more attention. I don't think I'm the only one to ever miss that button, but I still feel incredibly dumb. I actually do like the idea of this level design, with the outer perimeter that holds items, buttons, and it connects you to most of the map. This is also the level where you find the Unmaker. I'm not even really sure what it is, but it uses energy cells to fire, and does tons of damage for a low ammo cost. Also, at the end of the level, it gets locked, and I'm assuming on higher difficulties it's a better enemy, but I just got an imp and the exit unlocks again. I giggled when I looked at it. Level 13 was interesting to say the least. I also forgot to record it. But there are multiple rooms, all with a different challenge. A larger room with hordes of enemies, tight corridors with enemies, and walls that shoot out darts. A couple mazes that lead to buttons that are needed for the exit, which is then guarded by 2 barons yet again. And I'm a little blind, and it took me forever to find the yellow key in this fire. Level 14 was a little confusing for me. I'm not quite sure what pressing these 2 buttons did. I thought they were the controls for the blue key, but I guess not, because I ran into this corner, ran back, and the key was down. Confusion was immense. I'm also not sure if I ever saw this button and I just overlooked it, or I did something for it to appear. Anyways, I found out eventually. Level 15 was difficult, mainly because I spawned in with low health and tons of enemies right away, and I didn't know that the way to get the blue key was to get the supercharge and that you had to see where it was at the beginning, not where it ended up. But also what was confusing is we see something never done before, I don't think. But that's the need to shoot buttons instead of clicking them, which I had no idea about when I was trying to figure out what to do originally. There was then a long path with a Baron at the end and even more darts coming out of the walls, then we even come back to the giant starting room and it's just chaos. Now, level 16, I really enjoyed the level design with the multiple buildings all connected to the larger area. There are corridors and hallways under the map as well. I honestly thoroughly enjoyed this level, except I wasn't ready at the end for the floor to disappear, which was annoying, but I just loaded up one of my saves and started again. Level 17 was interesting, just a lot of enemies. I spawned into the level and immediately thought this was going to be a boss level, and it was. A cyber demon spawns in and we have to kill it to exit, which was nothing compared to the metric tons of enemies seen earlier. Level 18 is also just a ton of enemies, but this time with an interesting puzzle and more corridors with buttons needed to be shot, which again, I didn't put 2 and 2 together that you were able to stand on this platform and you'd be able to shoot to get the blue key, which I do like the shooting button idea, but I do wish it was explained. But as it's an N64 game originally, I get it. I also shot the candles because I thought maybe, because yeah. And that interesting puzzle I was talking about was really just pressing a couple buttons and seeing a horse head drop from the ceiling. Level 19 was very short. It's quite literally a spiral with a metric ton of enemies. Yeah, that's it. Level 20 on the other hand is a little bit more complex, but not by much. There are more buttons to shoot, more enemies to kill in tighter corridors, and a maze where you have to press different buttons in an attempt to get the yellow key and make our way to the exit. Level 21 takes it one step further. This is the first time we've been in a cave-like place with cliffs, major changes in heights, using those heights to get to other places, and it was probably the dumbest and lost I've felt in a level. But also, it's the best I felt after completing a level. We get the red key and then we have to figure out exactly what this button did, which wasn't very obvious, but once I found it, I was relieved. Level 22, again, I forgot to record most of it, but also I think had a really interesting puzzle with an opening wall and a dropping platform for a key. And we see something else I think is really cool for the time, being the ricochet of darts. We even get locked in a room and have to press a button to open a door to try and avoid getting squashed, which I didn't. Level 23 was just so infuriating. Let's just say there are things that chase you down, many puzzles, annoying puzzles, lots of high level enemies, confusing pathways, and yet another unexplained mechanic where you need to press the 3 buttons in a sequential order. I'll be honest, I'm pretty dumb and thought we needed all the keys, so it's on me. I'm just kind of annoyed at myself. Level 24 was again just a lot of enemies, probably preparing us for the last level, which honestly made zero sense to be the last level. As far as I know, and what I've counted, there are 28 levels with 3 secret levels, but I was on 24, then I jumped to 28. I was very confused and still am, but here's the final level, a giant area with hundreds of enemies before fighting the final boss, the mother of all demons, who I just cheesed and sat behind this purple button. I really don't know what happened to the end of the Doom levels. Overall, Doom 64 is actually something that helped revitalize my feelings for Doom. Doom 2 wasn't bad by any means, but it was honestly too similar to the original, and I think playing them back to back didn't help. But Doom 64 helped me get out of that with just enough changes, but also going back to the even level design and difficulty I liked about Doom. The updated textures help with that too. Even though they were the same demons, more than likely they did the same damage, they had the same health, they were the same weapons, same pickups, it helped give it a little bump in my eyes. I've seen a lot of people on the internet talk about how it was one of the worst in the series, but I think it was honestly my favorite. There are lots of things it doesn't do well, and even things that are downright annoying and frustrating, but the positives outweigh the negatives, and I really enjoyed my time with the game, and found myself having more fun than I did with the other 2 games. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy the others, and honestly do intend to go back from time to time and to even achievement hunt these games, but later down the line. With that being said, all 3 games are done, kinda. It's time to tackle the last 3.